Welcome back once again to The Drop. This is the official podcast of ComicDrops.com. Hope everyone had a good week. I did, and I hope the rest of our panel did as well. Today we are reviewing Star Wars Rogue One, or Rogue One, a Star Wars story, whatever you want to call it. And before we get into the review, I would like to introduce the rest of the panel. Back with us once again, we have Andrew Lilly. Dude, how's it going?
Glad to be back.
Yes, haven't heard that in a while. Good stuff. And also with us again, we have Colin Sapp in the building. How's it going? You doing all right, man?
Oh yeah, I'm doing good. Living that dope boy fresh life, you know how it is.
Living the dope. I knew you were gonna say something like that, either that or Lit Daddy Dank. I kind of just expected it at this point.
Yeah, good.
And joining us, I think for the first time ever, we have Chris Davis in the house. Dude, thanks for joining us, man. How's it going?
Going pretty well. Glad to finally be on.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him on for such a long time, so it's a long time coming. Glad he was able to come on for this, and it is a special occasion.
Yeah, it's a Star Wars episode.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think this is the first. I think this is the first time ever that we be talking about nothing but Star Wars. Like I said, we are reviewing Rogue One. If you haven't seen it, it's perfectly fine. We're doing our spoiler-free thoughts in the beginning. That way you can kind of hear what we think, and then we'll give like a rating, like a one either like out of 10. And then once we're done with that, and everyone gets their views out of the way, we'll dive into spoilers. We'll talk the ending. We'll talk like all the cool little like nods and tidbits and characters and all that good stuff that we want to discuss. And then I guess that'll wrap it up. But Chris, let's start with you, man. I know you were really excited to see Rogue One. So what'd you think, man?
Star Wars is very near and dear to my heart. I love it more than I love most human beings, and I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'll have to see it again and kind of stew over it a little bit before I, officially rank it somewhere within the whole saga. But I really enjoyed it. The only real downside, I think, for me, the characters seemed a little thin of the main group, like thinly written. But other than that, I had a blast the whole time. Like, I really enjoyed it.
What would you give it like out of 10 as of right now? What would you give it?
As of right now, probably an 8 or an 8.5. I don't know. That may change upon future viewings, but as of right now, fresh, probably 8 or 8.5.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of have to mirror what you said, honestly. I saw it actually on Monday, before it came out. And, like, I enjoyed it then, but, like, just like what Chris said, some of the characters were really one-dimensional. There wasn't a whole lot of character development, even with Felicity Jones's character, which she's the main protagonist of the movie. And I just found it kind of too convenient that, like, all of these characters were in the same place at the same time. It's like, oh, yay, now we're all here. Now let's form Rogue One and do things. I didn't really like that. But overall, I think the movie was really solid. I actually saw it again today. And I might have to, like, kind of just, like, step back with my earlier statements about the characters, because I actually really enjoyed the characters even more the second time around.
Krennic.
I forget what was the main bad guy's name? It was, like, Krennic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. That's actually the same guy who played, I think, Roland Daggett in The Dark Knight Rises.
In Dark Knight Rises. And he's in Bloodline on Netflix as a TV show, and it's really good. It has him and Kyle Chandler. Dude's a good actor. Yeah, he's a really good actor. I hope to see him in more stuff. Vader was great. We're not going to talk much about Vader in our spoiler-free thoughts, just because, I mean, yeah. Vader.
Yeah, it's freaking Vader. It was really kind of cool to see some of the settings from the original trilogy. Like, they went to, I think, like, Yavin 4, and we saw a few little nods to the original trilogy that I really enjoyed. I thought they were really cool. And, like, if, like, once you finish watching the movie, like, you literally want to go back home and, like, watch A New Hope immediately. It fits so perfectly. Yes. It fits so perfectly in the Star Wars continuity that I was kind of shocked. Because I was just like, literally, you could watch from episode 1, as bad as it is, all the way to episode 6, and it's perfect. You know, like even though it flows so seamlessly, and it's kind of not scary, but it's kind of fascinating how they were able to do that. And A New Hope came out in 77. Am I right?
Yeah, 77.
So I mean, I was blown away just by the simple fact of it fitting so easily into the Star Wars like canon, movie canon, and I was pleased. I think I originally, after I saw it on Monday, I gave it like a 7 out of 10, but now that I've seen it again and I'm kind of, I don't know, I guess I paid more attention to it, I would probably give it probably like an 8.5. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts. Now on to Colin. Colin, I understand that you weren't so hot on this movie. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you're pretty right on that.
Elaborate, please, so I can fight you later.
Okay, let's do that. So the movie wasn't bad. It was an enjoyable movie. I enjoyed most of it, but whenever I came out of the theater, I was like, man, that ending was so awesome. But at the same time, I was like, but there was something missing. Something didn't feel right. I don't know exactly what. Something didn't feel right. And there was a certain scene in the movie as well that we'll go into in the spoiler details, but there was a certain scene in the movie that happened, and I was just like, it took me out of the movie so hard to where I was just kind of like, and I started to analyze everything, and I wasn't invested in the story anymore. I was just so taken aback, and I was just like, well, that's not right. That doesn't look right.
I feel like I know what you're talking about too.
Like, what?
Even without me knowing.
Yeah, I'm just like, what is happening? Like it, and then that bothered me the rest of the movie until the ending, and then I was like, oh, like that was actually a pretty cool ending. I enjoyed that, but overall, I wasn't as blown away with the film as I would have wanted to be. I don't know if it was maybe because I hyped it up so much in my head, but the movie is definitely, in my opinion, is definitely not better than The Force Awakens. I think The Force Awakens is better. But I would give this movie probably, even still after all that, after what I just said, I'd say either a 7.5 or 8 out of 10.
Okay, that's reasonable. Even with all those negatives, I respect that. Yeah. I guess we won't be fighting later. It's okay.
I'll fight him anyway.
Yeah,
hey,
you'll probably
record that.
You'll probably end up fighting me.
Yeah, I'll fight you at some point.
Andrew, what'd you think about Rogue One, man?
Colin's not gonna like me because I did not like Force Awakens at all, and so.
Oh yeah, I knew that, and it made me sad.
That over dramatic gasp,
so
amazing.
Broke my heart.
I wasn't exactly too hyped about Rogue One. I was excited just because it's Star Wars, but after Force Awakens, I was sort of like, okay, this is just gonna be okay. So I had okay expectations, but I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I do agree with you guys about the characters. Aside from Krennic, who I loved, I thought he was fantastic. The characters were pretty thinly written. The cinematography in the movie was just beautiful.
Yes.
Best shot Star Wars movie.
Another one thing I didn't like was the music. And I get that the composer... Yeah, the composer...
What?
Composer only had, I think it was 4 weeks or something to work on it.
Wasn't it Michael Giacchino?
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah, it was.
Because it wasn't bad music, but it wasn't memorable at all. So
I agree with that.
But, yeah, I get it. It was only 4 weeks to work on it, and, it's a tough act to follow when you've got John Williams themes to live up to. But yeah, I thought it was just a really refreshing take on the Star Wars franchise. Just a movie that's not about Jedi or Sith, and it's purely a war film. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'll get into more of the other stuff for the spoiler review, but yeah.
What would you rate it? What would you rate it out of 10?
8.5 to 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Dang.
Nice.
Yep.
The highest rating. Jesus.
Nice.
But I mean, I kind of want to talk about the score for a second, because I mean, like, I understand that, you know, it wasn't as memorable as, say, any of the other previous Star Wars movies. But I mean, you gotta tip your hat to the guy. I mean, like, there were a lot of John Williams-esque, like, chord progressions and just like flows and swells in there, and I was just like, to me, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but to me, the score felt like John Williams composed it. At least to me. I don't know about anybody else. And I liked it. I was like, I literally thought, I was like, wait, did John Williams do this? But I was like, wait, no, he didn't, because that one guy did it. But, I mean, I thought the score was good. But, yeah.
The score?
I liked the score. I mean, it fit with the movie very well, but I will agree that it wasn't incredibly memorable. Like, when there's some movies where you walk out and you're like, that score was amazing, and with
like BVS.
This movie,
shut up. You know the BVS score was amazing. I don't even care if you like the movie or not. That score was top notch.
The Wonder Woman music, I really like that in BVS. But anyway, back to Star Wars. It just wasn't outstandingly memorable. It fit in well with the movie. It complemented a lot of the scenes very well, but it wasn't one of the things I was most hyped about.
I mean, the score, with the argument that you kind of said earlier, Josh, that Ander also said that it wasn't as memorable. Then again, for majority of the Star Wars movies, there really hasn't been that many memorable scores since the original trilogy with the Imperial March. Then you have the main theme. The next one that comes to mind is from Episode 1, which is Duel of the Fates. But other than that, there's really not any scores that kind of
First Order?
Leia, what's the Princess Leia Han Solo score?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Is that it?
I think so. It was.
I
in one of the
I
trailers.
don't know what it's called though.
It was in. I think it was in trailer 2 for. Yeah, I think it's that one.
Yeah.
Star-Crossed Lovers or something like that. I don't know.
Something like that.
Something like that.
That one's good too.
But I mean, I think you can throw Snoke's theme in there. I think Snoke's theme is pretty iconic. Either that or the First Order.
The one from Force Awakens.
I like the First Order one.
I found in the Force Awakens, Kylo Ren's was the most like notable and most present, because every time he came on screen, it would be like dun 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 dun. You're like, oh, there's your boy Kylo.
I feel like I've heard that before in a different Star Wars movie though, or like a game or something. That's why I was just like, oh yeah. When you said the Kylo theme, I was like, wait, what was Kylo's theme again? So I mean, at least for me, it wasn't memorable, but I'm not gonna drag you that much if you don't like it. But yes, those are our spoiler-free thoughts. I guess now, for those of you who don't want to get Rogue One spoiled for you, which you shouldn't, it's a great movie. You definitely go check it out. Let's go ahead and dive into spoiler-filled gumbo deliciousness. It's gonna get hot and heavy in here. I guess we can already kick it off and start it off with that end scene with Darth Vader just wrecking cheeks in that hallway. I first, like I said, when I watched it on Monday, I was invested in the story, but I was like kind of just like leaning back in my chair, just relaxing. And then when I see that red lightsaber turn on in the darkness, I sat up and I literally said, "Oh shit!" Amazing. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "It's going down!" And then he just started wasting people. We have never seen Darth Vader like this ever.
Ever. It was beautiful. I loved it so much,
dude. The part when he walked up to the guy, used the Force, put him on the ceiling, and as he walked past, just waved his lightsaber and cut him in the stomach. I was like, good. This is why the Rebels and the rest of the freaking galaxy is so terrified of Darth Vader. That right there, because he went through them so quickly. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful.
He stabbed a guy into a door, and then the door opened.
Yes.
While he was... it was perfect.
This movie, I think this movie was the most powerful we've ever seen, like, the Empire. Because, I mean, mind you, I think this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is like 15 or 20 years after Anakin becomes Vader. This is after Order 66. Yeah, after essentially all the Jedi are dead. There's basically no competition for the Sith or the Empire, and they're just taking over the galaxy. I mean, you've got I think it was Jeddah. They had that giant Star Destroyer in the atmosphere floating over, kind of just I don't know. To me, that kind of just like signified how the Empire has been since then. They're just hovering over everything and just like it's like have their hands and everything. That's I kind of got that from that. And like oh my god, I just really now that I'm thinking about it, I'm enjoying the movie even more. Like I want to go see it again.
I do want to see it again.
But Colin, why don't you go ahead and talk about the thing that you said that that took you out of the movie? Because I want to talk about that.
Okay, so the scene, you may actually not be expecting this, but the scene that took me out of the movie the most was the first time we see Darth Vader. And
wait, what? Really?
Yes, it took me out hardcore. Here's why. First, we see him in his little tube thing. That doesn't bother me. Whatever. The water's draining. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool.
He's taking a bath, you know?
Yeah, he's like just chilling, you know. He can't be in that suit all the time, I guess. Which it totally makes sense. Whatever. That doesn't bother me.
I know.
I thought it was pretty dope.
Then we have Krennic, you know, he's out there, he's waiting, and the door opens. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Then we get that cool shot of him walking out of the smoke, and I'm like, yes. Oh, there's Darth Vader. Then him and Krennic start talking. And then we get a nice little medium close-up of Darth Vader. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to him like, okay, this is good. And then I just start to note, like out of nowhere, I look at him, I'm like, man, that neck piece kind of looks weird on him. Like the neck right there. The neck right above his chest. The way the helmet's sitting doesn't look right. His shoulders look a little slouched. And I just start analyzing. And it kind of takes me out of the movie. And I'm like... And then I start looking at it more and more, and it's bothering me as it's happening. And then I start to notice the dialogue that Darth Vader's saying. I'm just kind of like, ah. And then he walks away, and then you see Krennic start to choke, and I'm like, oh. And then I get to start, like, I'm starting to get drawn back in again. I'm like, oh, gosh, this is awesome. And then he turns around with his hand, you know, he's got it cupped because he's choking him. And he looks back, and then I'm like, that'd be perfect just to look at him. Release your hand, walk away, just kind of like showing your power. But no, he turns around and he's like, try not to choke on your aspirations. And then I'm just like, seriously? That's what you say?
What's wrong with that? I don't see you.
I will agree, that was a stupid line.
I was like, that was so stupid and unnecessary, and it just seemed like something, like to me, I was like, that doesn't seem like something Darth Vader would say. Darth Vader made a pun? What?
Well, when you make it that trivial, I mean, it does sound pretty bad.
I do
like,
remember
even in
thinking
context,
that was a dumb line in the theater.
context, I was just like, why? And that bothered me, like, the rest of the film. And then I was like, And then there were some scenes in, like, the first act where I was kind of like, I was just kind of like, it seemed a little slow, and I was like, this doesn't feel very Star Wars. It almost feels kind of Star Trek-y for a minute. And then I was like, no, not really. And then I was like, this does feel like Star Wars. But then I was like, but that one scene with Darth Vader, man, I was just like, it's just not right. And it sat like it was just a sour taste in my mouth throughout the rest of the movie until that ending where I practically crapped all over the movie theater with excitement. It was so perfect the way that movie ended. But yeah, that's like, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on that scene, but that it really bothered me the first time we saw Darth Vader.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with what you said about like the whole like neck piece, because it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually talking to a buddy of mine a few days ago actually, and he mentioned the exact same thing. He was like, hey, was it just me, or did like Darth Vader's helmet look kind of different? I was like, what do you mean?
I noticed it too.
Yeah, and then he showed me, I forget exactly what he said, but it wasn't always connected. It was kind of just like somebody help me out here, because I forget what I'm trying to say here. It wasn't like connected to like the cape or something like that. I don't know. I didn't notice it until the second time, which I saw it today, and I was just like, you know what? I was like, he has a point. I can kind of see where he's coming from. It didn't take me out of the movie. I wasn't distracted by it. I was just like, oh, it's just a different look for his cape, for Darth Vader's suit. I didn't really think much of it. But now when you kind of put it into perspective that Darth Vader essentially made a pun when he was like, be careful not to choke on your aspirations, I was just like, now I'm just like, we could have done without that. But yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree
that line was pretty
I think we can all
too.
Agree that like the cheesiest line in the entire movie was "Save the rebellion, save the dream."
I love that line. I hated it.
I hated it.
It was a line.
Save the rebellion. Save the dream. Also, can we also talk about how wasted Forrest Whitaker was in that movie? A complete and total waste.
How about how wasted Mads Mikkelsen was?
He was actually in the movie a lot longer than I thought he would.
Chris.
Yeah, no, I know. He was in there a while too.
Exactly.
But
I was fixing to say this isn't no Bryan Cranston and Godzilla. Get over it.
But yeah, like I feel like the whole character of Saw Gerrera was just I didn't really care for him. And I know I know apparently he was in some sort of Star Wars animated show beforehand before he was in this.
He was in the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars? Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't watched past season 3, I think. But yeah, like, I just didn't really care for the character. I like Forrest Whitaker as an actor, but in my opinion, he was wasted. And plus, for some reason, Forrest Whitaker decided to use, like, this weird, raspy voice. And essentially, sometimes I could not understand a word he was saying.
It's because I think he had a problem.
Why did he
with
look
his
homeless?
Because he's like half a robot now. I think he had something wrong with his lungs because he saw that gas mask or whatever, the oxygen tank. He would pull it up and he would. I felt like every time he was talking, it was because he was trying to keep in as much air as possible. So he would kind of shout it out like this, and then that's why he would just stop so abruptly. So that's how I kind of took the way he was approaching the character and with his dialogue and stuff. That didn't bother me as much about him, but I do agree with you when you say that he was a little wasted. It did seem like he was a little shoehorned in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way that they could have actually like included him in like another way. I mean, I guess he still would have died, but I would have given him a little bit more screen time. Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you've been like super quiet. Do you have like anything to add, yo?
Oh, I got notes here I can read.
Let's hear him.
I was just letting you guys talk. You guys are doing a good job.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I agree with Colin about the first act. It was really slow, but I guess it made sense. You're just kind of trying to introduce the characters. Some of it felt a little jarring at times, but overall, I kind of looked past it. One of the cool things that I liked about it was seeing these cities and planets under Imperial rule, and just like seeing like the Imperial flags, the stormtroopers moving through the streets, the Star Destroyers overhead. I thought that was so cool looking. I think that was in like the main Jeddah city, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking quick, I want to go over something really quick. Speaking of the stormtroopers, don't you love how the stormtroopers in this movie sound exactly the same as they did back in like the 70s? Like they have the same voice. It was crazy. Just like little details like that I love. Like the blaster sounds, the ships, everything. I felt like this movie was made like back then. Obviously with better effects and all that good stuff, but like this fits so perfectly into the original trilogy that I loved it so much.
No, that's a good point, because I mean, like everything from the costumes to just like the production design felt exactly like the original trilogy.
Very well done.
That's another positive I had about the film. About Vader, I know a lot of people wanted more of him, but I thought they used him perfectly. I mean, he had like less, I don't know, 5 minutes or so.
If that, it was more like he had maybe about 3 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, small enough, but it was powerful enough, especially the last scene. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad he wasn't in it a lot, because it really gave Krennic a chance to really shine, which I loved that they actually gave him a little bit more depth, because we actually found, we understood his frustration. The Death Star was his project. And then I guess we can sort of talk about this. They brought Tarkin back into the movie.
I did not like that CG. I did not like the CG. I understood why they did it. Like I really do. I understand that. Okay, he's a big player in the Empire. I get it. I'm glad that they brought him back. But like I don't know, because I knew it was CG. I just felt like it looked like a video game cutscene, and I was just like,
He was a little jarring to me, but after the first time we saw him, I got used to it, and it didn't really bother me. I was invested enough in the story to not really care.
And then don't even get me started on Leia. Oh my, that she looked like some like GameCube stuff, bro. I didn't think it looked very good.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I think the first time we see Tarkin was jarring, and it was pretty noticeable that.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like around his eyes and stuff, you could tell it was pretty animated.
Mm-hmm.
But by the last scene he was in, I don't know if it was because of camera work or lighting effects or something. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked the worst at his first appearance.
Really,
Yeah,
I
I
honestly
agree.
thought the quality of his face dwindled as the movie went on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, anyway, I'll get back to the Tarkin basically taking over Krennic's project, basically, and Krennic's frustrated because it was his project all along, and Tarkin comes and sort of takes it. I thought that was really cool about his character. I don't know. I guess one of you guys can jump in. I still have a few things I want to talk about, but I don't want to be rambling here.
I mean, one of the things that which really kind of intrigued me about Rogue One was, I mean, first of all, I wasn't even excited about the movie. The trailers essentially did nothing for me. I was just like, I'm gonna see it. It's Star Wars, kind of just like what Andrew said. It's a Star Wars movie. Of course, you're gonna see it. But I really enjoyed seeing a different side to this fight. We've been seeing the Sith and the Jedi go at it for movies, like for years, and now we're getting a little taste of what it's like with the boots on the ground. These guys are like in the trenches, like really like giving it their all, and I found that really cool because I felt like a war movie, which is exactly what Gareth Edwards is the guy who directed it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what he wanted to do, and he accomplished that. I really like just the sheer scale. I feel like those giant AT-ATs on the beach, they were just blasting people away, and they're just running for their lives like roaches. It's crazy, man. I thought it was really fun, but yeah. Hey, you guys have anything else to add?
I think one more thing I'll say about like the war. I liked how they presented the rebel as being a little bit more gray. Like with the originals, they were like the guys who did no wrong. They were the good guys, and the Empire were the evil. They were evil. But with the first scene with what's his name, Cassian?
Yeah.
Cassian Andor. I mean, he shoots the guy in the back.
I wondered why he did that. Like, I still don't get why he did that.
I think
It's
just
because
to
the
escape.
Yeah, the mission was more
the
mission was more important than this one guy.
Yeah, and the other guy
And
was
the
hurt,
cause was
and he
more
just had
important.
to get out of there, I think is what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it now.
So I thought that was a cool take.
Yeah, I did that.
Anything else to add?
I mean, I like the smaller references to the bigger universe. Have we already talked about that?
I don't think so.
I feel like we. Okay, I, for some reason I felt I had a weird sense of deja vu there for a second. But I really like the smaller hints to the universe. With at the very beginning, whenever you see Mads Mikkelsen give her the necklace, I was like, "Is that a Kyber crystal?" And then they name drop Kyber crystal, and I'm like, "Yo!" I leaned over to my friend. I'm like, "Yo, that's what they use to make lightsabers." Not even 5 minutes later in the movie, they say, "The Kyber crystal powers the Jedi's lightsabers," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is great!"
Nice impression. I guess that is all of our thoughts on Rogue One. We gave you our spoiler-free thoughts and spoiler-filled. That way you can kind of jump in between or not listen to any of them, whatever your preference is. But yeah, definitely go out and see Rogue One. It's not your typical Rogue One. It's not what the hell? No, it's not your typical Star Wars movie. Don't expect to see an opening title crawl. Although for some reason that right there really kind of jarred me because I'm so used to seeing it.
Yeah, that was really jarring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good movie. Definitely go check it out. Grab your grandparents, your parents, kids, whatever you got. Dogs, cats, hamsters, rats. I guess now we can plug our social media. Chris, where can people find you at?
You can find me at Chris R.R. Davis on Twitter.
Is that really it? That's all you have?
Yeah. Well, hey, follow the Drop News on Twitter.
Oh, yeah,
The Drop Cinema
I was gonna
Twitter.
I was gonna plug that at the end, but I got you. Yeah.
You're yelling at me, so I'll plug that too.
All right
whatever,
then.
man.
Okay.
at TDN Cinema.
Yep.
I co-run that with Colin, so check that one out too.
Yeah, we are currently rebranding the site, and we're gonna cover. Not only are we gonna cover comic book related television, TV shows, video games, all that good stuff, we're also gonna cover non-comic book related content, such as just like regular movies. We call it cinema just because, I mean, why not? So yeah, if you want to follow that and if you're interested, it's at TDN Cinema on Twitter. Give us a follow, hang out, talk, chat, all that good stuff. Alex, where can people find you at? Not Alex. Jesus, Ander.
I'm on Twitter at AnderWriter. Come on by, talk comics, talk movies, talk Aquaman, anything.
Oh, speaking of Aquaman, I want to get your brief thoughts on Patrick Wilson being cast as Orm. Go.
Ooh, awesome. He's a great actor. Love it.
I wanted him as Green Lantern, but him in the DCEU is fine by me. Colin, where can people find you at?
You guys can find me on the Twitter sphere at Colin_Sap, and also Chris already plugged cinema, and now I'm going to do a selfless plug for we have a short film coming out for
That's
our little
very
thing,
true.
128 Productions, with our friend Aaron Martin, who's also part of the site. It's called Hide and Seek. We're finishing up editing right now, which seems like has been going on forever, but I promise it'll be out soon and by the end of the year. But that's it.
You can find me on Twitter at Dark Knight of Ren. There's 1K for the dark in the night. You can also find me on DCU News. Instagram and introduce this Insta Live thing, so I've been live streaming there, just talking, hanging out with people. And as always, keep it locked at comicdrops.com for the latest news in superhero media, and coming up, video games and non-comic book related content. We will see you guys later. Peace.
Dope Boy Fred.